Candace Owens has never been one to shy away from a firestorm, and her latest breakdown of the Charlie Kirk shooting is perhaps her most explosive stance yet. She's weaving a narrative that demands we ignore the obvious and embrace the improbable, but a theory this massive can't survive on charisma and just asking questions energy alone. If Candace wants this version of history to be treated as a legitimate revelation rather than a carefully constructed piece of political theater, she has to do more than just connect dots that might not even exist. She needs to account for the physical evidence, the verified timelines, and the fundamental logic that currently contradicts her claims. The narrative isn't true just because it's bold, it's true because it survives the pressure of the facts. Today, we're applying that pressure and laying out the 10 specific, unavoidable questions that Candace must answer. Candace has explicitly stated that Charlie believed he was going to be killed that day, yet his actions tell a completely different story. If he truly harbored a legitimate fear for his life, his decision-making defies all logic. Why did he walk onto that stage without a bulletproof vest or even a basic level of ballistic protection? Beyond the gear, there's the question of the trip itself. If there was a credible known threat against him, why go to Utah at all? Her narrative implies that McCoy wasn't just a bystander, but a coordinated player within this alleged conspiracy. But if he was truly in on it, his positioning makes absolutely no sense from a self-preservation or tactical standpoint. Why would a willing participant choose to stand directly in the line of fire, mere inches from the primary target, during a live fire event where the margin for error is non-existent? It's a move that defies every rule of criminal coordination and basic human instinct. Dan isn't just in the vicinity, he is positioned directly behind Charlie Kirk, placing himself squarely in the primary kill zone for any high-velocity round that might have overpenetrated or missed the target by a fraction of an inch. To suggest Flood was an accomplice is to suggest he signed up for a suicide mission where his life depended entirely on the godlike precision of a shooter he supposedly helped hire. Why would any rational conspirator, let alone one with everything to lose, volunteer to be the human backdrop for an assassination attempt? While he wasn't standing in the direct line of fire like Dan Flood, Harpole's proximity and immediate reaction create a massive hurdle for Candace's inside job theory. Harpole was positioned close enough to be at Charlie's side in a matter of seconds, acting with a level of urgency that is nearly impossible to fake under the adrenaline-fueled chaos of a live shooting. If Brian was part of a coordinated plot, why was his first instinct to rush toward the danger rather than away from it? A conspirator's goal is typically to maintain distance and plausible deniability, yet Harpole's immediate physical intervention suggests a man acting on raw protective instinct, not a pre-written script. The rifle used in the shooting, a Mauser Model 98, didn't just appear out of thin air in Orem. It was a weapon with deep personal ties to Robinson, identified as a gift from his own grandfather. If Robinson wasn't the shooter, how did his personal property end up abandoned in a wooded area north of the campus, wrapped in a towel that, according to the FBI, bore his specific DNA signature? Furthermore, investigators recovered a screwdriver from the very rooftop where the shot was fired that also contained Robinson's DNA. To believe Candace, we have to believe that a third party not only stole Robinson's family heirloom and his tools, but also managed to plant his genetic material at the scene without detection. If Robinson was truly an innocent bystander, or a framed patsy, as Candace's narrative suggests, why did he spend the moments following the shooting sending detailed admissions of guilt? We aren't just talking about vague statements. Robinson sent explicit messages via text and Discord to his friends and his partner, confessing to the act in real time. These weren't coerced statements made in a dark interrogation room. These were spontaneous digital fingerprints sent from his own devices before he was even in custody. To believe the conspiracy, one would have to believe that a shadowy group not only stole his rifle and planted his DNA, but also gained access to his private encrypted accounts to fake a series of confessions to his inner circle. Candace needs to explain why a man who didn't do it would meticulously document his own guilt to the people he trusted most. The FBI released footage shows a suspect wearing a black shirt with a distinctive American flag and eagle, a dark baseball cap, and Converse sneakers, sprinting across the roof of the Lucy Center and physically dropping off the edge to make his escape. This isn't a blurry, ambiguous silhouette. It is a person whose clothing, gait, and physical build perfectly align with the photographs taken of Robinson earlier that day. Beyond the digital trail and the forensic evidence, we have to look at the most heartbreaking contradiction in the Patsy narrative: the actions of Tyler Robinson's own family. If Tyler was an innocent victim being framed by a sophisticated deep-to-state operation, why were the very people who knew him best, his own parents, the ones who tipped off the authorities? Families typically move heaven and earth to protect their children from a wrongful accusation. Yet in the hours following the shooting, the Robinsons recognized the rifle, recognized the clothing, and recognized the spiraling mental state of their son. To believe Candace's theory, we have to believe that Tyler's parents were either part of the conspiracy to frame their own flesh and blood, or that they were so easily deceived by planted evidence that they didn't even hesitate to call the police. Moving on to one of the most sensational claims in this entire theory, the alleged involvement of Erica Kirk. If we are to follow Candace's lead and cast Charlie's own wife as a central architect of this plot, we have to look for a motive that justifies such a monstrous betrayal. In any inside job narrative, the investigator has to ask, cui bono? Who actually benefits? Erica wasn't just Charlie's partner in life, she was his partner in a massive, high-profile movement with everything to lose. What could she possibly gain from orchestrating an assassination attempt that risked her husband's life and the total collapse of their shared world? If the goal was money, power, or a political pivot, there is zero evidence of a paper trail or a secret agenda that would make such a high-stakes gamble logical. Every caliber possesses a unique acoustic signature, a combination of the initial muzzle blast and the supersonic crack that acts as a ballistic fingerprint. If Candace wants to maintain that a different, perhaps smaller or suppressed weapon was used to fit her stage theory, she has to explain away the specific decibel peaks and frequency oscillations captured on every live feed. Matt Kester on YouTube goes into grainy detail on all available data, and with pinpoint accuracy, states he is within 99.9% certainty that the gun used was a .30-06 fired from the Lucy building. He'll include a link to his exhaustive video in the description below. Please like, share, and subscribe, follow us on Spotify, and listen to our live show on Rumble.